Hello! We're here for Mock Draft Friday, and I am joined by Mr. Christopher Harris coming back to the show.
Yeah, you've been doing mock draft Fridays through August, and I felt like it was really fun. So I demanded, as the proprietor of this particular channel, that I should be allowed to join. That's none of that is true, but you've had wonderful guests as guest mockers, and we thought for the last one, we're not going to do any mock drafts after this, that we would bring me on and I could get pantsed in front of everybody. How's that?
Let's do the standard draft. At least it won't be the full PPR. So,
Right. I'm not a big fan of the full PPR, so happy to be doing the standard. I was glad to hear that was the one you hadn't done.
so you picked 3 and I picked 8, and I don't think we really had any shocks with the start. Like you talked about it with pick 3, you took Zeke, kind of went chalk for the first 3 picks, right?
I did. Yeah, I like picking top 3. You'll see what comes back around, and in this case, nothing shocking came back around in the second round. I'm still going to feel fine with Zeke as the anchor.
And at the 8th pick, I tried to do the 2 wide receiver move that we talked about earlier this week on a show, and I got Michael Thomas. He was still available at 8th, and I was pretty happy about that. But
So let me ask you, can I ask you about that though? Because I saw you do it, obviously. And the question I had for you was, were you setting out to do the wide receiver thing as an experiment, or was he just kind of the guy who you saw on the board that, compared to everybody else out there, I'll take the number 1 wide receiver?
Both, actually. Before the draft started,
Okay.
I wanted to try it for the show to do the wide receiver, but I didn't think Michael Thomas would be there at 8. When Michael Thomas was there at 8, that was definitely my pick, regardless of what my plan was.
So if Thomas had gone 7, you might have, for experiment purposes, you might have gone Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams or something, but you didn't have to because you got Thomas.
Right,
Got it.
I didn't have to. And I would have maybe chickened out if Aaron Jones was available in the second round and gotten a really safe, solid running back. But Aaron Jones went just before me. I took Julio, and I feel good about Michael Thomas and Julio.
That's yeah. It's a nice stack.
I'm not sure
at all.
I built it right afterwards as we look at the later rounds, but I think I started off solid. I don't think the first pick's what screwed it up.
Yeah, I cannot complain with the Michael Thomas Julio. I mean, so we get back around to my pick in the second round, and none of the 5 receivers whom I really trust. Hopkins went right before I picked in the second round. I would have taken him to pair with Zeke, and none of the running backs really. Like we picked against robots, right? And the robots mostly didn't go off the board too much. So highest player left on my board was Galladay. I really was simply just picking the highest player left on my standard league board. You know how much I like Galladay. It's it feels like easier to go running back. I think Eckler might have been there. Like I can't remember which running back. There were a couple of running backs, and it was close, but Galladay was highest, so I decided to let's stick to my board. And I actually, because I don't mind a couple of those 4th round running backs, I don't hate the way things turned out, but it might have gone differently.
Yeah. So you did Galladay, and then you came back around and got Odell, and in between there is where Eckler and Gurley went. Like they almost came back around you, but they weren't quite available still.
As we were doing this draft, I was like, did Eckler go? Did Gurley go? I'd take him here. And you were like, dude, they're gone. And so deal with it. So I actually could have seen fit to take Le'Veon Bell with that 3rd round pick. I believe that much, at least in the upside, despite all the I mean, there's so much negativity around Le'Veon Bell, right? Obviously, unbelievable amounts. And I just tend to assume that's a buying opportunity. But because I assume it's a buying opportunity, I thought he'd be there when it wrapped all the way back around in the 4th. So I took another guy who's sort of falling out of favor a little bit. I took Beckham, who I seem to be getting in every draft these days.
Yeah, and you were right. When it comes all the way back around to you, you were able to get Bell in the 4th.
I was. But you had, at that point did you go running back, 3rd, 4th? I can't remember.
I didn't. I probably should have. I went Jonathan Taylor in the 3rd, but
okay.
But kind of how you were waiting on Bell, I thought I could wait on running back still a little bit. So I took Cortland Sutton because I knew Cortland Sutton wasn't coming back to me. Because you were picking.
Flex, right? Yeah, I mean, there's a chance I would have taken him. I would have felt running back pressed, but I do have Sutton ahead of Bell. So yeah, like you zigged while the market zags. We did a show all about that earlier in the week on the channel that people can check out. I think Dave probably has them talking about it. We'll link to it.
Right there.
Yeah, the concept basically being that, again, this draft and like all default ranks right now, we're going so running back heavy that you come out of those 3 of the first 4 picks and you have 3 wide receivers, but you have 3 obvious potential superstars, 3 potential top like 13 wide receivers maybe, and that's a pretty nice foundation to build on.
Yeah. But you also took three good wide receivers because so we said you took Bell in the fourth, comes back in the fifth, and you got Robert Woods, who's another one of the flag players.
Sure, definitely a flag player, and I like taking him there. It feels like that's the ADP that he's going at, even though I have him higher in my ranks. But I'm going to admit, I look at my receivers, and I look at your receivers, and I like your receivers more. The difference being that I have Zeke Elliott, right? You have Jonathan Taylor, who could turn out to be amazing, but obviously has a bigger range of what we expect the possible outcomes are. So, if you're telling me Sutton or Woods, I'm going to tell you Sutton. But if you're going to tell me I can get Zeke out of it, like, I need Beckham to be great. But I agree that I came out with pretty decent receivers.
Yeah, and the thing with Taylor, how I took it is he's my RB1 in this strange offseason rookie. He might have a slower start, right? I got to hope for the big explosion in my RB1.
Right.
But I got Devin Singletary here in round 5. And that feels late to me, but I think it's probably just because I'm on this channel a lot and I know how much you like him.
That's where he's going, man.
Exactly.
I mean, pretty much where he's going, and we understand there's a risk. Like, of course, by now everybody who watches this channel is indoctrinated into the ways of Devin Singletary, and we understand that if we're wrong about how Buffalo feels about him, I don't think we're wrong about the ability, but I think if we're wrong about how Buffalo feels about him relative to Zach Moss, and they're ready to take training camp hype and change what they did last year, fifth round might be about right, or maybe even a little high, but we're guessing not.
Taking a quick break from this mock draft and talking about where you can do a draft every single week to build your own team. And that's DraftKings.
Very, very, very smooth. We would like people to download the DraftKings app. If you've never played DraftKings before, it is a salary cap game where you every single week are picking a new team based on that week's matchups and that week's injuries. You've heard us talk about DraftKings all over the place in the podcast and here, but seriously, play with us. It's super fun. We've had this contest 5 years. This is the 6th year running now, where DraftKings makes us a private room that we will give the link out to each week. It's not for the public. It's only for people who watch this channel or listen to the podcast. And it's $5. DraftKings takes no money from it. They make no money off of this contest. All of the winnings go back to all the winners in each week. Plus, every 4 weeks, so every month, we'll do standings. We'll post them. We're going to have a show on this channel where we talk about who's ahead and who's close. And after each 4-week span, somebody's going to win on one-on-one Skype session with me. So, go to DraftKings.com, use the promo code HarrisTube, download the app, use the promo code HarrisTube. That'll get you a free contest, and you can use it on our Week 1 contest. Seriously, you'll be happy that you did, because that contest is a blast, and we talk about it a lot.
Getting back into our mock draft, here's where I probably went wrong with how I built this team. And right here around 5-6 is probably something I felt in other drafts, where I needed to maybe veer a little bit away from my personal rankings and think about team construction. So I took Diggs when it came back around because I wanted Stephon Diggs, but this is where I probably needed another running back to kind of even out.
Because let's clarify, this league doesn't have 3 starting receivers, right? It's 2 receivers and a flex. So you're drafting Diggs to be a bench player.
Exactly. And even in the bye weeks, I've got 3 really good wide receivers. This is where I probably should have, even if it was maybe reaching for Mac and just locking up Indiana or something, this is where I probably should have played it a little different and not just gone off my personal ranks.
Do you remember, was Marlon Mack the Indianapolis, of course you meant, but was Marlon Mack the sort of best available running back at that point?
No, there was a few more, but that would have just been like my own team construction move. Because, I mean...
Okay. Oh, because you'd taken Taylor, right?
Because I took Taylor, so I was just saying if I had Indiana locked up.
Right. You like to call them Indiana, I noticed.
I keep doing that. I don't know.
It's such a Midwestern thing, though. It's like such a charming Midwestern thing. Oh yeah, we yeah, absolutely. We took all of it.
The whole state. Indiana. I want to lock up the whole. So this round you took Dobbins. So maybe it wasn't the best available running back because you wanted to get one.
Right. I mean, I hadn't gotten Ingram. I don't feel like you have to take Dobbins only if you get Ingram. I felt like that second running back, if that's Bell, that's, I think, good, but I want another option. And I especially kind of like the idea that I'm going to know about Bell early enough to maybe make a change to Dobbins. In other words, I don't probably not going to need to rely on Dobbins in week 1. And maybe by the time I realize that Bell was a bad call, it's week 3 or 4. And then maybe Dobbins is starting to produce a little bit at that point.
And I'm showing the board to everyone here, so we don't necessarily have to go through all of the picks here.
Yeah.
So you went with, in this draft, both 2 tight ends and 2 QBs. So you took Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki. Was that you thinking intentional to keep the 2 tight ends, or we got late in the draft and Gesicki was available and kind of an upside play?
I actually didn't recognize the names of any other players, so I was like, I don't know what these guys are. I'll just take another tight end. That's not true. I have to say that in the time of this is the COVID move, that in this kind of draft, I would typically take 1 quarterback and 1 tight end. And as I've thought about it more, I've thought, boy, we could have a problem as soon as week 1, and maybe I don't want to be hitting the waiver wire for. Okay, well, I mean, I should just say at quarterback, I probably would have taken 2 anyway, but I also didn't realize that the robots in this particular draft were going to start drafting 2 quarterbacks like pretty early, so that Baker Mayfield would be my QB1, which I'm actually I think in the game he was rated QB 17. I might have him like 13 or 14, but I don't really think he's a QB1. So immediately the next round I took Roethlisberger, and I thought, all right, well, hopefully I can cobble 70% of the elite guys together right there. But in the back of my mind, I am in these drafts, and this week I've done 10 drafts with people, mock and otherwise, and I find myself taking 2 tight ends, and I find myself taking 2 quarterbacks, and I think it's about COVID. Like, this is a 16-player draft. It's not all that deep. There's clearly going to be some free agents, but I recognize that the quarterback I'm going to take, or the tight end that I'm going to take in the draft, is got a better chance of paying off if I have disaster strike with the starter than me needing to take some prospect, take Paris Campbell or whatever in the 14th round, which is fine. I'm not making fun of the pick, but there's no chance I'm starting him right away. Whereas, my goodness, like, if the worst happens, there is a chance I start the backup at the quarterback or tight end.
Yeah, I also took 2 quarterbacks, right? I took Rodgers and then I took Cam, which was, I felt good about Rodgers, but the upside play on Cam. What I wouldn't want to do is what one of the bots did. You could, but they took Drew Brees and Tom Brady. That feels like a headache to me for how do I set my lineup every week. I mean, there's value, but
one of them took, what did you say, Ryan and Stafford?
Yeah. So
even that to me feels like you could be developing an ice cream headache pretty quick. I mean, I might be too with Mayfield and Roethlisberger, but that's because I quote unquote waited too long, not understanding what these bots were going to suddenly do all at once. All at once they took like 2 quarterbacks. Oh boy, like that probably is not going to happen. I'll be able to read the room better, hopefully, in a real draft with humans. But I'm with you. Like you want to create some separation between the two. In your case, you're going to be fine with Rodgers in week 1. You're going to see how it looks with Cam, and if Cam is Cam, it's a nice problem to have.
Yeah. All right, Chris, thanks for joining me. We'll end it there. Everyone, please like and subscribe if you watch this video all the way till the end. And happy drafting if you got a draft this weekend.
Go draft and have fun and don't stress out too much, and then make sure you don't do any of the picks that Dave did. Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button, write a comment, tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on, and of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button, and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.